It probably started with a cheap racket from Walmart. Maybe it was your older cousin's, or one your dad bought on sale, thinking it'd be a fun weekend hobby. You weren't thinking about rankings or prize money. You were thinking about hitting the ball over the net, just once without it going sideways. You remember that first thwack? Off the strings. Felt like lightning. Like you controlled something. You were 9, maybe 10, sweating in the summer heat on a faded public court with the net sagging in the middle and cracks like spiderwebs under your shoes. That was the hook. Not a country club, not a coach, just you and a ball and a wall. Or maybe a sibling, or maybe no one at all. You watched YouTube clips of Federer, Serena, Nadal like they were magicians. You mimicked their serves in your driveway, practiced footwork in the mirror, said their names out loud when you hit a forehand. You weren't playing tennis. You were pretending to be tennis, and it felt pure until it got serious. You begged your parents for lessons, for real strings, for shoes that wouldn't slide on the court. They did what they could, but this sport doesn't care about passion. It runs on bank accounts, private coaches, tournament fees, travel, hotels, entry costs, stringing costs. It all adds up fast. You heard no more than yes. Not because they didn't believe in you, because gas wasn't cheap and groceries came first. Still, you practiced. Hit against the wall for hours, entered local tournaments, got smoked at first, then got better. Then started winning, then started believing. That was the first mistake. Because in tennis, being good isn't enough. You've got to be funded. You show up to a junior tournament in a used racket bag and borrowed grips. The kid across the net? Sponsored. Matching gear, personal coach, fresh strings every match. His parents have a full cooler and chairs with their names embroidered on them. Yours are sitting on the curb in folding chairs, trying not to look out of place. You beat him anyway. But it doesn't matter. His name is on the watch list. His coach has connections. He'll get wild cards. You'll get the long road. And so the grind begins. You wake up early, stretch, hit the courts before school. Homework on the car ride. You miss birthdays, field trips, dances. Every day is reps. Serve, return, backhand, repeat. You're a machine before you're a teenager? Your friends don't get it. They ask, why don't you play a team sport? Because this is what you chose. Because this is what chose you. But it's lonely and expensive and weirdly humiliating. Because when you tell someone you play tennis, they picture luxury. They picture gates, clubs, ice towels. They don't picture the bleeding blisters on your hands or your dad stringing rackets at 1 a.m. to save 30 bucks. And you start to realize, this sport wasn't made for people like you. It was made for those who can afford to lose. You can. Every tournament you enter has pressure, not just to win, but to justify being there. Every expense has to be earned. Every loss feels like a debt. And you haven't even gone pro yet. You're still a kid. Still dreaming. Still trying to hit the ball clean. Still pretending you're not afraid of how far behind you already are. By now, your weekends are booked through the next year. Every Saturday, another city, another tournament. Another draw full of kids you recognize by name but only speak to during handshakes. You've seen them cry, scream, cheat line calls, but never once talk about anything that isn't tennis. You stop calling them kids because none of you feel like kids anymore. You've got a warm-up routine that's longer than some people's workouts. You travel with a foam roller? You know what ibuprofen on an empty stomach does. You felt cramps seize your calves at 3-3 in the third and kept playing anyway because there's no trainer at this level. Just you, your pain, and the scoreboard. Your friends from school stopped inviting you places. At first they tried. Then they just stopped. You've missed too many birthdays. Too many group chats you never replied to. You see their lives from Instagram. They see yours through "good luck this weekend." Texts they don't really mean. You're ranked now? Not nationally, but enough that people start to expect things. Coaches notice. Tournament directors know your name. A couple kids have you circled before the match even starts. It sounds like a win. It's not. Because now you've got something to lose. And you start losing the moment you think about that. You lose sleep. You lose weight. You lose confidence. You used to swing freely. Now every stroke is tight. You're not playing to win. You're playing not to mess up. Not to let your parents down. Not to waste the money they drove 300 miles and paid $80 in hotel fees to give you this shot. You make it to a semifinal in a big regional event. You're leading. Then something shifts. Not in your legs, in your head. You double fault. Start aiming instead of hitting. You lose. Afterward, your coach says, "You had that." Mentally, you just went away. You nod. Pretend like you didn't already know. You cry in the car ride back, quietly. Headphones in, watching the road blur. you start to realize something. This sport doesn't have seasons. It doesn't have breaks. It doesn't stop unless you stop, and if you do, someone else takes your spot. You've seen it. A kid flames out. Parents say they're taking a step back. 3 months later, they're gone. Off the list. Out of the rankings. No one even asks about them anymore. You're scared that'll be you. So you play through shin splints. Through wrist pain, through headaches and nausea and the flu. You tape everything, pop Advil, push through. You win some, you lose more than you admit. Every loss sits with you, stays in your chest like unfinished business. Because in this world, no one remembers your wins unless they're stacked. And no one forgets a collapse. College recruiters show up sometimes. They don't talk to you directly, just to your coach. You're not supposed to act like it matters, but it does. Because you're not rich enough to play for fun. This is your path. You need the offer. You need the scholarship. You need to matter. But the pressure, it's cracking you. You don't enjoy it anymore. You don't remember when you stopped. But now you wake up and stretch because you have to, not because you want to. You're still a teenager. But this sport already feels like a job. And you already know. It only gets harder from here. You turn pro. Or at least, you stop pretending college was the goal. You're ranked now. Low 200s. Close enough to taste something bigger, but far enough that most people still don't know your name. There's no team to carry you, no salary, no contract. Just you, a few rackets, and a calendar full of challenger events in countries you can't pronounce. You book your own flights. Wash your own socks in hotel sinks. Eat gas station bread and tuna because prize money doesn't stretch. You're not flying business. You're not even flying comfort. You've become a full-time athlete with part-time income, sleeping 2 to a room with another desperate kid chasing the same 35 ranking points that barely move the needle. You win a first-round match in Turkey. The payout? $600. Less than what you paid in airfare. You laugh when you see it. Not because it's funny, but because the math hasn't made sense in years. The worst part? You're good. You're better than good. You've beaten top juniors, taken sets off top 100 guys in practice. But none of that matters. Because this isn't about potential anymore. It's about results. Consistent, measurable, back-to-back results. You can't afford a physio. You can't afford a traveling coach. You can't even afford fresh strings between matches sometimes. The guys above you, they've got full teams. Nutritionists, strategy analysts, people to wipe the sweat off their face if they ask. You've got a mirror in a locker room that doesn't have hot water. You tape your own ankles, ice your own shoulder, self-diagnose pain that won't go away because you can't afford an MRI. You win 1 week, lose the next. The ranking drops. You get a wild card, then lose it. You enter a futures event just to scrape some cash and claw your way back. Every match feels like life or death, not because of ego, but because it actually determines whether you eat normal food this week or split a Subway footlong in the airport terminal. You play through exhaustion, through stomach bugs, through the creeping thought, what happens if this doesn't work out? There's no plan B. You didn't go to school, you didn't build a resume, you put your whole self into this sport, and now your whole self is barely making it past the first round. You don't post much on social media anymore, because no one wants to see a ranked player traveling coachless, losing to teenagers, and begging for sponsorship deals that barely cover rackets. You're ranked 212 in the world, and still feel like a ghost. Because unless you're top 100, you don't exist. Unless you're top 50, you're not marketable. Unless you're top 10, you're not worth remembering. And that's the cruelest part. You are elite, one of the best in the world. And still, you're broke. Still, you're alone. Still, you're praying your wrist holds out one more match. Because the next round isn't for glory, it's for rent. You make a deep run at a mid-level ATP event. Quarterfinals. You beat a guy ranked 68th in the world. You post about it. Get a few likes. A couple direct messages from friends you haven't heard from in months. But then Novak wins another final. And no one talks about your win ever again. That's how it works. There's only room for a few names. Djokovic, Alcaraz, Iga, Coco, the rest of you. You're scenery. You're the person people see in the draw and say, "Who's that?" Even though you've been grinding for 15 years, you hit a career high, ranked 129. You thought you'd feel something. You don't, because it's not top 100, which means no direct entry to slams, no guaranteed prize money, still stuck in qualifiers, still trying to hustle practice courts, still hitting with whoever's available because your team is your phone and a rented stringing machine. You see the top players getting private jets to Dubai. You're staying in a hostel in Serbia hoping the Wi-Fi works well enough to FaceTime your family. You tell yourself it's part of the grind, but deep down, you're tired of the silence. You win a 5-set match in 90-degree heat. No broadcast, no crowd. Just a sweaty chair umpire and a few ball kids who stop paying attention after set 3. Next day, someone double faults in a slam final and becomes a meme. That's the game. Unless you're winning grand slams or smashing rackets, no one sees you. Unless you cry. Unless you scream. Unless you collapse. Then maybe someone clicks. You've had moments, real ones. Tiebreak wins, upsets, emotional comebacks, but they vanish as fast as they came. Because tennis isn't built for the middle class, it's top heavy. If you're not in the top 10, you're not in the conversation. Not on the posters, not on the endorsement shortlist. You check your ranking. Down 7 spots. You lost 1 match last week. 1. That's how thin the margin is. 1 bad week and you're suddenly falling. It messes with your head. You start playing not to lose points instead of playing to win. You overthink shots. You go conservative when you used to go bold. You stop trusting yourself. Confidence isn't something you carry in this sport. It's something you rent. And the moment you stop paying, mentally, physically, emotionally, it's gone. And when it's gone, you don't just lose matches. You lose yourself. You start thinking about what it's like to be someone else. A soccer player with a team, an MMA fighter with a gym, a golfer with caddies and calm Sundays. Anything but this lonely carousel of silence and sweat and invisible brilliance. You scroll social media. See the top 5 doing press tours, brand launches, private yacht vacations between tournaments. Their off-seasons look like movie montages. Your off-season, it's 2 weeks of rehab and hunting for discounted flights to Australia. You're not asking to be famous. You're asking to be seen. To not feel like you've wasted your entire youth chasing a spotlight that never points your way. To matter. To someone. To anyone. You used to stretch because it felt good. Now you stretch because you have to. Your shoulder hasn't felt right in 3 years. Your knees click when you walk downstairs. Your back wakes you up at night. You've got a special brace just to get through practice. And your physio tells you it's not that bad compared to the other players your age. You're 29, but your body feels 50. The travel doesn't help. Neither does the hardcourt grind, the practice load, the constant repetition. Serve. Split step. Cross-court rally. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Until you're moving on autopilot, playing not to fall apart. Your ranking has stalled, your sponsors have dried up, the calls don't come in anymore. You're still active, but it's been months since anyone invited you to hit. People talk about you like you've already retired, and in your head, maybe you have. You play one final challenger event, get through qualifying. Lose in the second round to a kid born the year you picked up your first racket. He's good, really good. But that's not what hurts. What hurts is knowing he's you, just younger, healthier, with a full team behind him and eyes that haven't seen what's waiting down the road. You pack your bag in silence. No interview, no post-match recap. You leave the court like a ghost, just another early round stat no one will remember. You fly home, no upgrades, no fanfare, just another long walk through another unfamiliar airport. When you get home, your racket bag stays zipped for days, then weeks, then forever. Because you don't want to open it. You don't want to admit it's over. You tell your friends you're taking a break. You tell your parents you're thinking about coaching. You don't say the truth. You gave everything to this sport, and it never gave you anything back. No titles, no legacy, no name etched into silver. Just years of pain, hundreds of flights, and maybe a few screenshots of your name on a bracket before it got crossed out. You scroll through your old matches sometimes, that one clean backhand winner, that impossible hold at deuce. That one time you took a set off a top 30 player and felt for a moment like the world might finally notice. But it didn't. It never did. And now? Now you live with the aftermath, the body damage, the silent exit, the voice in your head that says, you were never enough. You try to ignore it. You try to be grateful. You say things like, it was a great journey, and not everyone gets to play pro. But deep down, you know what it really felt like. You know what it cost. You know what you wanted, and you know what you didn't get. That's why it sucks to be a tennis player.